Hello, today I'm going to be talking about Klondike, a form of solitaire. But to understand solitaire, we must first look at the history of playing cards. Playing cards have a very rich and mysterious history, in which the origin of playing cards is one that is extremely difficult to trace. The game Klondike, a form of solitaire as you know, uses cards which originated in China, as stated by World of Playing Cards 2017. Playing cards spread to India, Persia, Egypt, and into Europe by the Italians and Iberians during the second half of the 14th century. There are even examples of cards tracing back to 1294, which were printed on paper by the Chinese, with similarities existing between cards we use today and cards that were created nearly 800 years ago. The design of European playing cards derived from Egyptian cards within the 14th century, with evidence of Europe's trade arrangements with Egypt. So what's similar about cards made 800 years ago? The old deck had 4 suits. The old suit of swords changed into our club suit, and suits of cups and coins which originated before the 14th century can still be found on some decks within Spain and Italy today. Cards spread through Europe that quickly that people began to call it the invasion of playing cards, as stated by HOPC. Due to the small size and convenience, the cards could easily be taken on travels, exported, and shared. This is one of the big reasons that cards spread so quickly on a universal scale. It's said that explorers and soldiers are the reason that cards spread so quickly across continents. It is clear that different cultures changed their decks to easily identify with symbols and objects. Early decks had no queens, stated HOPC, which suggested a male-dominant court. Some decks still have dominant male cards today, known as kings and marshals. The black and red colour suits were invented in France and hasn't changed much since the 15th century. I think this may be because of how basic and easy to read the colours red and black are universally. Playing cards were made by hand, which made them extremely expensive and selective of who could play them and who couldn't afford to play. Much like today's technology, when printing and quality improved with a higher demand, the lower strata could afford to buy cards and play. Due to the class and culture divide in Europe during the 15th century, gambling became problematic during the lower class, in which the church and state stepped in and controlled the sale and use of playing cards. This involved restrictions and even being forbidden. Taxation was also introduced during the 17th century, as well as the creation of the worshipful company of makers of playing cards, which still exists today according to HOPC. Tax prices started at $5 a pack and rose to $25 due to popularity. So, what did I find the most interesting? Some people believe that the cards held secret societies and hidden meanings, for instance. There are 4 suits which relate to 4 seasons. There are 52 cards, one for each week of the year. 13 cards per suit, which relates to 13 moon cycles. And although no evidence can be found on this, it is interesting to imply symbolism and meaning to playing cards. In my opinion, cards are magic. They can be whatever you want them to be. There are many different forms of solitaire, but the one I'll be looking at in particular is a patience game called Klondike. This game arose in the 19th century and was named after a Canadian region where there happened to be a gold rush. It was even rumoured that the game was either popularised or created by its prospectors. So how does the game work? A standard 52 card deck without jokers is shuffled and 7 piles of cards are laid down from left to right. Each pile begins with 1 upturned card and each of the 7 piles contains 1 card more than the other. As you can see on the screen, starting from the left, 1 is upturned. On the second pile, 1 is downturned and 1 is upturned, and so on. On the top right hand corner of the screen is what's called the 4 foundations, which are built up over the game by starting with the 4 different ace suits and the consecutive numbers that follow in each matching suit. On the 7 piles, the cards can only be built down by alternating colours in decreasing numbers, as seen in this screen recording. The goal is to get a pile starting from a king all the way down to a 2 before it can be moved into the same suit pile. Once a pile has been moved to a foundation, a king has to be laid in its place before you can build down again. The goal is to have all matching suits piled in the foundation to finish the game. A deck at the top of the left-hand corner of the screen is used as the shuffle pile. There are a number of different ways to distribute the rest of the deck, however the majority of the time 3 cards are taken out from the deck and the top card is played. If the top card can't be played, all the cards must go back into the deck and a new set of 3 cards must be drawn. I love Solitaire because it is easy to play and can be taken anywhere due to the size of the cards. The cards are also highly accessible and can be easily found in most shops today. As you can see by my screen recording, the game can become quite frustrating when you can't solve a match all 4 suits, but this also creates a great time-consuming game that you can play on your own. The only issue really is the size of your playing space and whether you have room to fit all the cards in the space that you're playing on.